What is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLDB Games coming at you with another cool video back in Planet Coaster in Arrow Valley, and today we get, yes, to the first ride of the park. And this is kind of a very messy episode once again, as I have a lot of issues trying to figure out the layout of this coaster. Now, this is going to be a B&M winged coaster that I finally decided to do. It took me some time to figure out what kind of coaster I wanted to do for the centerpiece, and I felt like the B&M wing coaster just fit the best. Again, I'm not trying to duplicate anything like Cedar Point, but I want to make a very unique kind of centerpiece here. Now, I'm very passionate about how this is going to look because I have a lot of trial and error and a lot of different design differences that I make here. Now, there's a cajillion different things I end up doing. I wanted to do a winged over drop. That didn't work out the greatest, so then I tried to do just a regular drop. That didn't work out, so then I completely changed the way that the lift is going to go, and I actually do not get much into the design of the coaster itself. So this, what I do get done though, mostly in this episode, is pretty much the station of the B&M wing coaster here. So that is one thing that I was able to get done in this episode, and the rest of it's just kind of me trying to build the coaster, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted. So that is one thing that I'm very passionate about, is to make sure that this coaster, each coaster gets enough attention to detail that it has to be perfect. So I do a lot of different things. I wanted to make like these two towers, you know, kind of, well, not similar to Cedar Point's gatekeeper at all, but I want to make a tower or two towers or something and have like a crazy kind of element going through the tower or something like that. As a centerpiece, kind of. That's kind of the idea that I want to go. This coaster is going to be very interactive with the pathways, so you're going to be able to walk under the lift hill. You're going to be able to get really good views and close-ups of this ride. That is going to be the focus point on this, is that we're going to be able to cram in quite a bit of different kind of roller coasters in this park, and to do that, they're going to have to be going pretty much through a lot of the pathways and everything like that. So for the station, I wanted to make sure that was kind of an interesting station. Now, the theming is very light. It's going to have kind of like an eagle theme. As you know, there's Wild Eagle and Dollywood. It's going to be kind of based off that and a little bit of Gatekeeper. So it's going to have kind of inspiration from both of those. And the station's kind of very old school, kind of wooden and things like that. Excuse me. So it's going to be really kind of a neat little station. I'm actually very proud of kind of how the station ends up turning out. There's still a little bit more to do with the station. It's not by any means complete just yet. So that's going to be kind of a neat thing. The queue line's going to be over here, and the exit is going to be on the same side as well, which is kind of an interesting thing. And there's an explanation of how I'm going to be doing this, because I wanted to mess with the terrain just a little bit in this section, so it's not completely flat land. And I thought that would be kind of a challenging and more interesting way to do it. So there's going to be kind of like this little plaza out front where the exit of the ride is going to be and the entrance of the ride is going to be. And it's going to be kind of elevated, and it's going to have kind of like this foundation at the bottom, which we'll see in just a little bit. So excuse me, it's going to be really cool. Now, I had to make these cross sections of the roofing as well, just to make sure that the building looks like it's realistic enough to look like there's actually supports on this building. So that was one important thing to get correct here as well. So, excuse me, once again, still have this cough. These allergies have just been kicking me in the butt lately, and I need to do something about it. But anyways, it turns out pretty neat, and again, this is like an hour and a half worth of footage of me trying to build this coaster, but we'll pick up more when we come back later, and I'm just going to try and do a little bit more planning for the centerpiece as well, because the layout is all going to be based on how I'm going to get that centerpiece in there for this coaster. Now, it's going to be a pretty tall B&M wing coaster, and it's going to be around between 160 and 180 foot lift hill. So that's one way to kind of get an idea of how big this is. It's going to be I believe the tallest wing coaster in the world, going to break gatekeepers records. Now, whether or not it's going to break all the records is something that remains to be seen, but we'll see later on. It's going to have hopefully a very strong layout. I want each coaster in this park to have a very strong layout and very high excitement rating. I want to overdo everything with my rides in this park because it's going to be something special. And I thought a B&M wing coaster would work well because, you know, Westwood didn't have a B&M winged. Westwood had just a regular floorless coaster, and I wanted to kind of have some different rides in this park. So the B&M wing just kind of made a little bit more sense. I was debating a lot of different things, and that doesn't mean there's not going to be another B&M. So there could be possibly another B&M coaster in this park as well. So you're going to have this, and then I want to have some RMC of some sort, whether it be the iBox track, the monorail or the single rail track, which is the T-Rex, or you know, another ground up wooden coaster. And I've had a different couple ideas of which one I wanted to go with. So one thing I do want to have is definitely go with a classic wooden coaster. So a traditional, maybe like a GCI wooden coaster would be kind of neat to have in the park, because we didn't have a GCI Woody in Westwood at the moment. So that'd be kind of a neat little idea to put in there. So I'm liking how the station actually turned out, you know, with the custom railings that I came up with. I thought they looked very, very nice, and it matches the concrete kind of pretty well, and it kind of contrasts to really make it pop just a little bit, and it actually turned out really cool. And again, I have some more detailing to do on this station, but it's going to be really neat. And the reason why I kind of wanted to rush up to get to this point, because I know I said I wasn't going to rush up to try and get to the coasters and stuff, but I was really wanted to work on the centerpiece element of the park. So the centerpiece tower that's going to have the coaster going through it, and I have to have the coaster running before I can get to that. So I'm not going to push really any further forward than what I have done. So and then of course I want to make sure everything's realistic. So lighting needs to be precise and where it's going to be, and again, just more little details like that are going to be really make the ride stand out a little bit more. And again, I want to try and do my best to possibly have up to 6 coasters in this park. That's going to be kind of like my goal. At the least, maybe, because I want this one to have quite a few more coasters and this park's going to be more based off the thrills more than theming. So it's going to have more theming, or more thrilling elements more than theming. So it's kind of like the opposite of Westwood in a way. In Westwood you get more theming but less rides, so each ride is heavily themed. This one you're going to get more rides with less theming, so a lot of people enjoy that more because there's going to be a lot of thrilling elements to all the rides. And I still am going to have some theming aspects to some of these rides. They're just not going to have a heavy theme like Westwood. All the rides have like a storyline. These are just going to have some sort of theme and very minor storytelling, if any at all. So it's going to be, again, think more like Cedar Point, Cedar Fair, or Six Flags kind of a way. But at least Six Flags, you know, has some theming to like DC and different things like that. So like Batman, Superman, and all that fun stuff, I suppose. But and what you see right now here is I'm actually working on kind of like a nice little custom operator's booth for the employees. It looks kind of cool. And I like making these just so they have, you know, just a tiny bit of theming to them. So again, this episode is mostly based off of just making the station building and a little bit of the entrance plaza and exit at the same time. So I get around to trying to figure out color schemes and different things and I could do with this. And I kind of was thinking more, you know, going with an eagle theme, you know, maybe I should make it look, maybe it could be the little patriotic ride. As for the naming, I couldn't really think of anything. I wanted to have maybe an eagle in the name, like Soaring Eagle and the Screaming Eagle, but I don't want anything like too cliche, so I wanted to make sure it's still kind of unique in a way. So that is in the process of working up and how that's all going to work. But and I still might end up changing the colors scheme in the long run anyways, but as for right now, that's what we're looking at. But I don't want anything too cliche again, but again, it's going to be kind of like lightly theming. So here I am trying to work on a winged over drop. I haven't built one in so long that I kind of forgot how to build it in a way, so it's going to be it was kind of interesting to try and figure out. I took multiple attempts at actually trying to make this, because they kind of have like an end game one, but I didn't really care for where it ended up, because I needed the drop to kind of lead over just a little bit so I wouldn't interfere with the lift hill the lift hill itself. And yeah, I wanted to try and do that, and then kind of have like a very gatekeeper-ish kind of start to it, and then it would go back and get into the centerpiece. But the lift hill was just a little bit too close to the centerpiece that it just wasn't going to fit properly. So in the end, after I get all this done, and actually towards the end, you'll see that I actually build the lift hill in another direction, and I'm going to work my way over to the centerpiece element. So one thing I should have probably done is actually design the towers first and try and figure out what I'm going to do, because I was thinking of 0G roll through it. I was thinking of a lot of different things I could actually do to try and make that centerpiece. Again, I don't want to mimic Gatekeeper's centerpiece element over their gate, but I wanted to do something that looked really cool and made a lot of sense. So that was going to be kind of iconic, and if that makes sense. So something that you're going to walk through the gate and you're going to be like, wow, that is awesome. We got to go hit that ride and actually go and ride it real quick. So again, it's very hard to get this right. I had an idea in my mind of how I did it. So I did plan it out a little bit as much as I could, but it didn't end up kind of working the way that I was hoping. So all of this footage that you're seeing is pretty much wasted, because I didn't end up going with any of this stuff. So I'm trying to create like an Amusement inversion, coming back over here, and I noticed that the Amusement wasn't big enough, and I was going through it too quick. So it was just kind of a very hard thing to realize. So then I was like, well, since I have a lot of speed, maybe I can make another element going over the entrance and the entrance building, or the station building, and make like another different kind of thing, and then come back and do the thing. So I had to figure out how I was going to do that, and that didn't end up working out the way I wanted. So it was just very kind of messy in a way of how I was trying to figure out how all this was going to go down. And I really just couldn't find anything I was happy with. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to come up with that I'm trying to do. And I'd love to hear you guys in the comments of what you think of trying to figure this out, of how I would be able to do this. So you'll see at the end, I build the lift hill going the other direction. I think it'll just make everything just a lot easier. So, a lot of wing coasters do have the winged over drop, and then I was going, well, maybe if I'm inspiring it a little bit off of Wild Eagle, maybe I can just have a normal drop and try something else. So I end up trying to do that as well, but it also didn't really work out as planned either. So then I decided, well, let me try and make a break run here so I can at least make some progress on the track layout and everything. So that's how that's going to go. And that might even change in the end. You never know, because I still can't figure out the layout. So I'm like, okay, let me try and make this tower. And I was unsatisfied of how this turns out as well, because I thought these, like pieces for this wall would actually work very well, and I would make like this tower. And after detailing, I'm sure would have turned out okay. But then I was trying to figure out, well, where am I going to have the track go through? How am I going to do this? So that ended up not really having a great part to it either. So now I've also given the thought of maybe I can make a normal building and then put make it like a restaurant or something as well, or is it just anything, and then maybe I can put like the track going over the top of it with these with a tower or something, kind of like gatekeepers sitting on top of the entrance. Those two towers are on the top of the entrance gate. So maybe something similar to like that, but then I can't. So I couldn't figure out what exactly. That was kind of the thought maybe I'm going to try next, possibly, but we'll see how all that turns out. Again, I tried to do maybe something like similar to Wild Eagle, which isn't very popular, but, with the drop and then the vertical loop, and then, maybe I was like, maybe I can turn this around a little bit and make some sort of piece. And then I felt like the background of this loop and drop and everything was just a little too distracting for the centerpiece itself, so I didn't end up going with this very much. So, and then I was like, well, let me try a little airtime hill here, and then maybe I'll turn it around and try and do something, but it just does not happen very well. So, again, I'm sorry this episode just kind of got a little wishy-washy, kind of messy, trying to figure stuff out, but it did help me a little bit trying to realize what I need to do. So again, I do end up destroying or demolishing that tower, and I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. So I think when I come back next time, I'm going to start on the centerpiece tower first, and then try and create elements in the coaster itself, and then line it up perfectly at one point and just create the element. And then possibly, I got a lot of different ideas how I'm going to do it, but we'll figure this out. Whether, or not it will work, I'm sure I'll make it work somehow eventually, but again, all this track work ends up being for nothing because it doesn't turn out the way I want, and that's a good thing, because if I'm not satisfied with something, I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to try and force it in there. And that's probably a good thing, because you don't want to put in something, and you're like, that's not looking so great, and end up keeping it. You're gonna want the best possible that you can build, so you don't want to force anything, if that makes sense. And that's how I felt about it. I was like, I'm not gonna force this. I did like the airtime hill. I thought the airtime hill worked very well, and it actually gave it some very good airtime for the ride and added a lot of excitement, because you don't see a lot of airtime on B&Ms very often, and I think to have some airtime on a B&M would actually be kind of cool. So at least make a ride that's a little bit forceful, and that'd be kind of fun. So again, I was like, well, maybe I should make the lift hill going the other direction. It gives me a little bit more room to work with, and we'll see how that goes. So but anyways, as for the track layout, I don't really do anything. I try a little bit again here, but in the end, in the long run, it just did not work, and I decided to kind of wait on it and then plan it out just a little bit better and a little bit more, and seeing what I can do. So anyways, that's going to do it for that track. I give up at some certain point here. I don't remember if I give it a go on custom track. It looks like that's it. Now I look at more of the plaza for the ride itself. And this was kind of going to be a very interesting kind of thing that I wanted to try and do. So I'm going to make this like open square, maybe kind of more rectangle-ish plaza, and the entrance to the ride is going to just be to the right of it. The exit's going to be right there, and it's going to use a little bit of the terraforming, a little bit of terrainy kind of feel to it, which is actually going to help out quite a bit. And yeah, we're gonna make this plaza, and there's gonna be stuff, in the middle, and it looks very empty and ugly by the end of this video. But we're gonna decorate it up to make it look fantastic. So right now, again, it does look kind of and stuff. So, but it's going to turn out to be really, really cool, and at least the idea in my head looks really, really cool. But we'll see how that actually turns out. Again, it's a plaza for the ride, and the entrance and the exit, so everything's just going to be right there, which is going to be nice and handy. I'm also going to probably put the gift shop for the ride just off to the left or right of the exit, or something like that, and that way it has that. And then we make I put the roofing on it, and it's going to cover up the path. That way it looks like it's all full. And it turned out pretty good. As you can see, it looks very open and blank and bland and just kind of boring. But afterwards, it's hopefully going to look fantastic. That's going to be the goal. So, yeah, we got a lot of path work to do, and then we need to fill in kind of the paths with some more attractions or shops and some rides and stuff like that, just to make that look a little bit better. So I'm going to have like the steps right here up to the plaza for it, because the terrain's just going to be a little bit off and not as even. And then I had this ugly little thing to fill up here because there's this grass gap in between the pathways, which isn't good. And I actually thought of another idea now that I think about it, which might try, and I tried to cover it up with something kind of fancy looking in a way, but I might end up getting rid of this, and this is just kind of a temporary fix at the moment. And with this kind of like foundation fence section area, which is kind of an interesting thing that I came up with, because I just put like this fence gate around to cover up that grass spot. And it looks cool if I can complement it with something else maybe, because it just kind of looks a little bit too random right now, and we'll see how all that turns out. But anyways, that's gonna look cool. Again, on the plaza, the entrance is gonna be just off to the right of it, and the exit's gonna be where it's at. And then I'm gonna put a fence around everything there, and we're gonna have some shops, probably some shops and different things connected to it. I might even add like a nice little scenic view of the ride. In a way, I might even make a little bit of a pond or some water off to the side, just to make it look kind of cool. I might even end up rounding off the edges just so they look a little bit more smooth. I think that might actually be a cool idea, but we'll see. I might change it. And I wanted to make my own custom fence at first, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna work out the way I wanted it to really. So I decided to just go with the nice little metal fence that I like to use, because it's a really good fence that I'm actually enjoying quite a bit, and that is this one right here. It just fits quite nicely, and yeah, so that's gonna look cool. And there's a lot of work to do in this section, and whether or not I get to it might be the next episode, I'm not sure, but yeah, I got a lot more planning to do and a lot more stuff that I can actually work on, so we have that to look forward to, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So without further ado, I'll let you guys debate in the comment section. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you guys again so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think. So make sure you have a great day and an even cooler tomorrow, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much again, and goodbye.